Hi, collective. I was going to do, so this could be slightly to do with Leo as well, because I was going to do Leo, but it's Father's Day as in Europe anyway. I think it might be different in America. I'm not sure. As I record this, and it's the evening of Father's Day, and I have had a perfectly lovely day, but I am aware I have a long-term pain problem, and I was really aware it was flaring up a minute ago, quite badly. And I was thinking, what's this about? And I was thinking it's probably because I've unconsciously been ruminating about the fact that it's Father's Day. My father very sadly passed some time ago. So I'm making this reading about for those whose father is in spirit, or who those who don't have an obvious father figure in their lives for whatever reason. And I've pulled the reading already, and so it's really interesting where it ends up. It's a bit on the nose, but I think you might enjoy it. If you're missing a father figure because you have someone you love in spirit, or missing a father figure because you were never adequately fathered in some way, here is your reading. So, internally, holding on with the Four of Pentacles and this idea of this chariot, making a dash for its kind of epic quest. So with the holding on, it definitely speaks to me when I'm thinking about this reading, about this feeling of wanting to hold on to the concept of what fatherhood meant to you, wishing you could hold on to your loved one. In my case, missing that person. Now, this isn't something consciously I've been feeling during the day, but I generally feel that if you lose a father quite early for whatever reason, or don't have a father, then of course it's a concept you sort of almost want to strangulate. You, it means a lot, the idea of being fathered, and what that means in our culture changes all the time. But to have a strong male role model is very important. So here we see this idea of the epic quest, sort of that maybe it really is that literal. Your epic quest for those who've lost their father or don't have that role model is to try and work out how to hold within you this energy, that kind of masculine energy that does, of course, help you go on your epic quest, but also gives you a sense of strength. It's almost like the chariot beneath you, because we always say about this this chariot that he's made up of lots of aspects of all the preceding major arcanas. He's number 7, so everything from the Fool onwards. And here we see the kind of heavy stone base that's reminiscent of the Emperor's throne in the number 4, which we have actually got coming up. I'm not going to ruin the surprise, but it's as if, yeah, that's how it's coming to me. It's like, kind of, how do I set off on my epic quest with the security of this kind of father's love, this father's care and structure and support? How do I hold on to that? And it's interesting that this is a 4, the 4 being a minor to the Emperor, which is the kind of ultimate father card. And it's kind of holding on to that energy. So that's you internally, for those people who relate to this. And another 4 coming up, how it makes you act out externally, is the 4 of Wands. Needing to find a place for this kind of partnership, needing to find, well, maybe you've been sort of rather good at finding kind of some security in your life now, making that kind of structure, however temporary, because this is a temporary structure, but it's such a joyful one. Maybe that's what you look to consciously as somebody without a father figure. That's what you look constantly to create, that kind of stability, the stability of the 4s, the stability of partnership. And that's absolutely wonderful. So I love seeing you do that. At the basis of the reading, we've got the Lovers and the 5 of Wands. So this is sort of fighting for that real partnership that we see in the 4 of Wands. I think whoever I'm talking to, you're quite feisty, and I love that. It's, however much you're missing your paternal figure, there's a lot of inner masculine drive, an ability to fight for what you want. In this case, what you're fighting for is correct partnership. And it could be partnering with that kind of masculine energy yourself, having missed out on it at the moment, missing that in real life. But it could just be looking for that perfect partnership that balances your energy. Whether you're a man who looks for love with men, whether you're a woman who looks for love with men, whether a woman who looks for love with a woman, or if your gender is much more complicated than that, more fluid than that, and your sexuality as well, there is a sense of really in this kind of unleashed 5 Mars looking very competitively and with a lot of drive and passion for what it is that you can partner with. Now, if you're not interested in a partnership at all, it's going to be kind of maybe partnership with that kind of masculine energy somehow. Or what it is that you love that lights you up. But I can't help but think that it is something to do with the father energy. In the recent past, we've got this card of nostalgia with the 6 of Cups. So maybe you, like me, have been thinking a lot about your father today, or the lack of. This is interesting because I've read something recently saying that this was based on a play, this illustration that Pamela Coleman Smith did. And it was a play where people were playing, because you see this giant sort of boy and then this old lady who's dressed as a little girl. It was related to the play that Pamela Coleman Smith used as an inspiration for this illustration, and it's the sort of moral of the play, I guess, and I don't know it well, but what I've read in Précis is that it's to be your own age, not to pretend to be older or try to be younger than you are. Of course, if you lacked a paternal figure in early in life, you might well have had to grow up a little bit early. You might have had to be the male figure in the family, that kind of father figure. And that might have been a bit difficult. And so maybe you've been considering that kind of, when the family's a little bit topsy-turvy, unbalanced, and you might have to take on roles that you would have preferred a parent figure took on. But it's also a lovely card of nostalgia and thinking back to what you've loved. So you might have great fond memories of a father figure who's no longer with you. In the potential outcome, we've got this lovely card of the 3 of Pentacles, when you're working together with other energies to build something considerable. I love this. I love this with the implications of sacred geometry, particularly for me. I love it because my dad took us to lots of churches when we were little, empty churches. And we would always look at the corbels and the gargoyles and the stone carvings. So for me, it's a personal message of that kind of space being a space where you can still enjoy that energy, or I can connect with my dad. Maybe you've equally got a space that this card is kind of encouraging us for you to find, that would be a great space for you to connect with your father as well, or that kind of energy, if you didn't have that figure, of some kind of spiritual energy that is reminiscent of that. And the implication being that you can build great things in this space. Like, by that, I think it's talking about communication with spirit, and in that place, it's a very productive place where big things get built. In this case, it's a cathedral. Maybe you're being encouraged and spirit is wanting to say to you, please try to have those kind of energies integrated, work with those energies. It will be very productive for you. And we can do that in lots of interesting ways. If you never had a particularly favourable experience of that kind of energy, you can find somebody that you relate to who's a character from a television program, or a historical figure, or somebody that you imagine might be rather good but you don't know, and you could sort of relate to that figure imaginatively and ask them in your mind to be your kind of mentor in that respect, to help you regain where you feel you're missing that kind of paternal energy. So I suppose for me, I would say that the father figure is somebody that gives you structure. I'm thinking along the lines of the tarot cards here. that kind of paternal energy, structure, support, defense, esteem, can be quite rigid in a way, but that can be helpful if you're not a kind of rigid person. Coming up in the near future, though, we've got this idea of not giving our power away with the Seven of Swords. So needing to be a little bit careful about that. Sneaking off. So where are you? Is it that you're giving too much of your power away, thinking that, oh, if only I had this figure, everything would be different? And maybe that is also a bit of a trap you don't want to fall into, because life is never what it's supposed to be, and people come out of all sorts of circumstances and achieve great things and have very, very happy lives. It doesn't matter about achieving, really. Have very, very happy lives. So don't give too much power away to this idea. Yeah, I think that's the simple message of this. Do not give too much power away to this idea. But then I don't think you are, in a strange way, because coming up with your attitude, maybe in response to realizing that you were slightly disempowering yourself, we've got the King and Queen of Swords. And this is like the mother and the father, but the mother and the father of extreme logic, very clear sight, extremely fanciful in their minds. It's a very it suggests to me that maybe you feel a little bit like, oh, I've disempowered myself by worrying about what my life is like without this, and now I'm kind of, yeah, it's almost as if you do adopt an internal masculine and feminine, rigid sort of, this King of Swords, he's very related to the Emperor, the father of the pack. He's the most, so the Emperor is made up of all the kings, and the King of Swords is the most like the Emperor. So maybe this really does see you adopting these kind of figures. I mean, maybe you feel you missed the perfect mother as well. It's interesting, as we're talking about all of this, the area of pain in my body is softening. I hope this helps anything that's rigid and griefful in your own body soften as well, because here I think this is really beautiful. There is a sense of internal imaginative parenting going on, looking after your youthful side that might sometimes feel like it has to pretend to be grown up when it wasn't. And this can be at any age. You could be 70 and feeling the lack of parenting. That's unfortunately something that lots of people experience all of their life. But it suggests to me that you're ready in a way to adopt these kind of internal parent figures, which is really exciting. So maybe it goes beyond just Father's Day. Maybe what's triggering on these Mother-Father days is for people who aren't parents, people who don't have the ideal parents. It's sort of putting an ideal up to us in society, isn't it? And asking us to examine where we might have lacked. Now, if we even go straight back to all the myths, the Greek myths, the Roman myths, there weren't any sort of exceptionally perfect families in that case either. And so, maybe one of our big lessons being here on the planet is to experience the imperfection, particularly at this time in history when we've gone through many cycles of evolution emotionally and physically. And now I think what we're dealing with is that sense of, not that they weren't dealing with it in the Greek and Roman times, but that sense of trying to adequately look after the young sides of ourselves as we get grown up, and we realise that we might be acting out of hurt sides of ourselves that weren't properly parented. I love to see your attitude being that you're adopting these two rather forthright parental figures. They're quite tough, these two, as a pair. There's not a lot of dilly-dallying about emotion, and it might be because we're dealing with that kind of paternal attitude, and often people feel one of the benefits of a very sort of strong father relationship is just internal discipline, internal esteem, strength. I'm being very old-fashioned in a way, using those sort of terms, but it's coming out in the reading. So I'm glad you're adopting it, and I'm interested that there's less of the cups and those kind of things. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's probably quite good. Sometimes having that very sort of strong disciplined figure internally makes us feel that we can then be softer and fluffier in other areas. So in your environment, again, another really punchy sword. So I think that there is a sense in you trying to cut out all the negativity that might have been hanging around again in this Seven of Swords, all these swords, thinking really, really logically and maybe adopting some sort of fantasy parent figures and thinking about how you would like to parent yourself, because this is really cutting out negativity. And it's a great new idea that you're adopting. And in it, you're really reborn. This child riding away from the wall of past hurts. It's really beautiful, actually. I hadn't even thought that until I really looked at it. So it's like an inner child being reborn away from this past wall of past hurts, enormously enthusiastic and upbeat and full of generation of ideas and optimism and manifesting kind of energy. So maybe this whole reading really is about, for everyone, those with even sort of semi-perfect parents, what we're really talking about is that once we can raise our own sword of truth, once we can start doing our own kind of parenting, and that can be a really imaginative exercise. It doesn't have to be dry. It might be, I mean, there's something called Boyden therapy, which a friend of mine has trained in, and talks about where you, yeah, maybe this would be really good. My painful area also likes this idea because it's soothing, where you imagine and interact with the perfect version of parental figure in your own mind, and you kind of re-script in your mind how they might act in various situations. So it sort of feels like that, and that then allows you to break out into a kind of positive, upbeat, it's like the Fool. It's that energy that nothing's holding you back anymore. There's no kind of internal hurts or worries. There's none of this holding on of the Four of Pentacles. There's none of this feeling as if you had something vital stolen from you, or even this kind of sense that maybe you've had to adopt roles that you aren't quite adequately equipped to do, having not had them modeled properly for you. So raise your sword of truth, do this kind of internal work. It is very lucrative and gives a lot of good energy in your life. I mean, the best. The sun is the best. And what your hopes and fears are is, yeah, you want to go back to learning. With this Page of Pentacles, you want to learn how to do being the child perfectly, really, and be able to absorb, as the Page of Pentacles would, all of that energy that's being now mentally and sort of psychically and shamanically that you are, I hope, bringing towards yourself, thinking about those perfect parent figures. And this isn't to diss anyone's parent or to diss anyone who is a parent. It's really hard. And we're all dealing with generations and generations of trauma. And if you believe in, which I do, the work not dissimilar to Pesso Boyden from what I can see, which is the family constellations work, then of course you are healing backwards as well as forward generationally when you do this kind of work. Time doesn't exist. If you can start to sort of heal and soften towards some of the patterns that will have been handed down generationally, even of loss. My mother lost her father very young, and I lost my father quite young. And I think you see that repeat in families as well. So even those kind of patterns that get brought into sort of family's DNA, it's time to sort of, I feel like the message of this reading is it's time to start healing those backwards as well. Think about those ancestors that came before you and soothing their journey as well, which would be amazing. And where it's all leading, I mean, it's just so lovely. He turns up, the father turns up, the emperor, the four, the major four. This is, I mean, really very moving to me that we can bring that figure into ourselves. And I don't find him challenging. I find that if I had a strong internal masculine, whenever that's very balanced for me, when I'm being given that kind of energy by my loved ones, it really works with me. I react really, really well with it. So the fact that it's turning up here, we know we can work with it. Whatever you're doing is really, really positive. I really hope some internal parenting can go on, because he turns up and you then get the benefit of what the amazing things that come with the Emperor when he's in balance, which is discipline, structure, support, a feeling of strong boundaries. You know, that's something that lots of people struggle with if they don't have adequate parenting, and it can really hamper you because you leak energy. And I suspect that's what this is all about, leaking energy, because you can become a bit codependent, looking for the kind of relationship, looking to behave towards other people in the way that you wished you were treated, or you can just not internalizing that kind of strong boundary of a father figure. That paternal boundary can just leave you very open and a bit too sort of eager to jump into situations when sometimes it's quite helpful being a bit shut off from them. And what have we got here? The Three of Wands. So to go with our Three of Coins, it's saying this is a really good aim. There you are, looking at what it is you now want to bring forward, that you can, how, when you cooperate with this kind of energy, how you can now start to see exactly what it is you want in your life and start to sort of build that, the 3 to the 4, knowing where your passions need to go. Again, I think an easier energy to get in touch with when you've got these kind of boundaries. You're not leaking lots of energy everywhere. It's also the card of Aries. I've got a wonderful Aries friend who's really good at her boundaries, and I love to watch her do it. She gets a lot done, as Aries do, and maybe that's something to do with them relating to the Mars suit, but also probably something to do with their Aryan Emperor energy that isn't sort of worried about other people so much, but its own thing. So here we've got the 10 of Cups. This is so lovely. Yeah, look, the break in the clouds, the 10 cups that this couple are admiring. I almost thought it was the 7 of Cups because I don't know this deck as well as the Rider-Waite, and it's an untypical, it's like a double rainbow, isn't it? So I was sort of thinking, oh, but they're getting clear. They've got the Emperor, and yes, you are getting clear, and you have got the Emperor, because this is talking about real happiness and fulfillment. I love it. It's sort of like the couple from the Lovers, isn't it? It's you. It's saying, yeah, you are coupling with this energy now. This isn't. It is worth fighting for this. It's really worth fighting for this. This might bring you a lot of happiness. And let's see what one more card I've got in here, and then we'll close this out. We might have a little charm at the end just for a bit of whimsy, although I'm sure the Emperor. Oh, you've already got one, which was in between the cards, which is this kind of witch's pentacle. Maybe there are some witches and warlocks out there, and they would like to use some magic to connect with their loved ones who've passed over, to connect with that kind of energy. So that might be worth something thinking about. If you were going to magically connect, how would you do it? And what have we got here? The King of Wands. I love it. Someone's had a very fiery father. This is so beautiful. Let's just get him in. It's actually the female version of... So in this deck, they have both the female and the male of all of the kings and queens. Sorry. Yes. I think it's just the kings, actually. But look at this. You're now... I think it's so reminiscent of the Emperor's outfit. I think by connecting with this kind of energy, it unleashes your creativity. It gives you... And it balances somehow, because we've got the female version of the King of Wands. It balances your internal biome in a way, and allows this passion to be expressed. I think it's a really, really healthy place for you. So let's all try and do some work, whatever, whether you've got parents alive, parents who've passed, whether you never had adequate parents, whether you never had parents at all. Let's try and internally adopt some wonderful mentors, some wonderful versions of what we feel would have been the ideal parent for us. So maybe it would be good to do some journaling around this, because I think if you can adopt that kind of character, it's going to give way to an enormous amount of creativity. And there's an element of it being quite sort of clear in your mind, quite logical. Don't lose too much energy through feeling sorry for yourself or worrying about it, because with the sun turning up in your environment, it comes with the sword, it comes with this clear thought. Start getting really clear about what your internal parents should be like for you, and then how that will make you act, because this is good for the whole. With the Ten of Cups, this means happy systems, families, groups of friends, balance. It's a really, really good aim. Everyone benefits. So happy Father's Day, and see you again soon.